everybody. This is Melissa, your free range psychic, and today I have our monthly astrologer on the show, Adam Stargazing Astrology. And Adam, good to see you.
Great to see you, Melissa. Thank you so much for having me on your channel. And to everyone out there, it is wonderful to be back on your channel, Melissa. Hello, everyone. Hello, subscribers. So I'm currently offering discounted astrological readings for anyone who may be at any type of crossroads in their life, business, finances, marriage. If you're interested in any sort of relationship chart, compatibility chart, or your birth chart, or anything like that, please send me an email. It's Adam Astro. That's ADAMASTRO 777 at gmail.com. And again, those prices are just going to be for a little longer, those discount prices.
And today we're going to talk about some interesting things. Firstly, you said that you would just go over the big astrological and astronomical event we all experienced. Although some of us were able to actually witness the solar eclipse that happened on the 8th of April. Is that when it happened?
Yes.
And others weren't, but it was such a significant collective experience. And so we're not going to talk too much about it, but just briefly, if you could go over the significance of it, it would be great.
Sure. Yeah, so there are a couple reasons why this was so significant. And the first reason was because we could actually see the full potency going across the central and eastern part of the United States. It made a path up through Texas, all the way up, some of those eastern states. And I believe, Melissa, you're in, the state that you live in. I believe, you guys may have had a really excellent show.
Not as good as Ohio. We were like 90. I'm southeastern Michigan, just like 50 minutes away from Ohio. But
Okay.
Ohio and downward got like the full Megillah, the 100%. We got like 99 or 98, but it was pretty good. Still,
Wow.
but still a lot of people I knew drove down to Ohio to get the full effect.
So I'm here in on the west coast of California. We got about 40%. So not a ton. So the reason why this was such an epic moment is because the eclipse time stands for a unit of concentrated energy. Take, for example, when I look at an astrological chart, each planet represents a unit of concentrated energy. An eclipse is basically like, say, like taking all the planets and putting them together. It's just there's a lot of movement that goes on. And the reason why I say a lot of like kind of forward movement is because it occurred in the astrological sign of Aries. So it was when April 8th was a new moon. So the sun and the moon were in the sign of Aries. Aries is all about new beginnings, jumping forward into a new state of being. New, things like entrepreneurship, courage, independence. These all fall in the realm of Aries. So we really experience a burst of this strong spring energy, which is all about kind of a rebirth. And that definitely does relate to that Pluto in Aquarius that has just that has just arrived and is pretty much here to stay, except for 1 month in October. This is very much bringing in that new Aquarian energy. And I know, Melissa, you have some strong Aquarius in your chart, so you must be feeling this.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And it's so exciting
mm-hmm.
because it's bringing it in the age of Aquarius.
It yes, it really is. And it's coming in with a bang because Aries energy is all about a bang for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that was really exciting. So now what I have here is I have the collective forecast for the 23rd. So the 23rd is coming up soon. And it is going to be a full moon. So it's going to be sitting when the sun is in Taurus and the moon is in Scorpio. So this is the Taurus Scorpio axis. I call this the axis of materialism. And the reason why is because each sign has a lot to do with the material reality. Taurus relating to finances, to material stability, and anything having to do with property and stewardship of land. Opposite is Scorpio. Scorpio has to do with things like banks, inheritances, and other people's money. So this access very much is about land and property, and real estate, finances. If you as an individual have a lot of Taurus Scorpio energy, then you probably know what I'm talking about. So the mode here, or the mode of being for this axis, sun moon axis, is fixed. Fixed is all about sustaining. Fixed is all about taking something and plodding through, seeing it to the end. So that it's a great time for like maybe following through with something that needs to be completed. It actually is a great access to be able to kind of complete tasks. You need that fixed energy to stay with things. I wouldn't call this the ideal time to start tasks or the ideal time for maybe some sort of short trip. Taurus and Scorpio are earth and water. Earth and water is more kind of home based, more about the roots of things, more about the foundation of things with that earth and water energy. So what we need to be careful here is we need to be careful for like a mood swing, for example. The reason why is because the full moon is going to be shining in a water sign, which is Scorpio. Watery moons can lend towards moods, and Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, so there is definitely some possibility for a mood there. So that being said, we're still dealing with a couple planets in Pisces. The planet Saturn, which represents our structures and our focus and our discipline, is in Pisces. Saturn in Pisces is a great time for creative projects, for a meditation practice. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, tends to be much more ethereal. The Piscean energy needs time to kind of withdraw and maybe contemplate. So Saturn in Pisces, I get the image of like a monk meditating on a mountain. There are a couple planets in Aries as well. Venus in Aries, it can be very exciting for things like relationships. So that being said, there's a pretty good combination of earth, water. There's a bunch of fire energy going on, in this season. So a great time for initiation, starting new projects. The planet Jupiter, which represents our value system, is sitting next to Uranus. So this is a bit tricky because Uranus is all about instability. Uranus also rules things like technology. We're looking at AI, things like that. So when Jupiter is sitting next to Uranus, the Jupiter energy blows it up. Uranus is forward thinking. It's breaking outside of the structures. Uranian energy is very associated with the planet Aquarius, which is very much new wave thinking. So you put that next to Jupiter, it pushes us forward. Things like technology booms, things like AI booms, things like breaking through old concrete structures. Things that stand for our moral values and our moral compass. Everything like that gets shot forward kind of into the future. So this is a great time for heightened intuition, for hunches. The only thing though is Uranus is sitting in Taurus still. Taurus likes stable land. Uranus is earthquakes. So this is also an aspect that could potentially indicate things like big earthquakes and fires and potential catastrophes can definitely happen with this aspect. So that is something we really kind of need to watch out for. Taurus is also very associated with finances. And again, sitting next to Uranus, we're going to see a lot more instability still with a lot of financial institutions, crypto, stock, we'll see things rise and fall. And that's nothing new because Uranus moves around the chart slower. So we've seen this Uranian and or Taurus and Uranus energy kind of now for a while. So that being said, my recommendation is if you have any finances or anything invested, hold on to it. I would definitely not sell it, especially when it's at a low. You don't want to lose whatever you do. Um, and so the last thing, and I would say kind of one of the highlighted aspects of this full moon forecast is what's called a T-square. So a T-square is also called an activation square, and it's pointing to the planet Pluto, which is an Aquarius. So these Plutonian energies, these Aquarian energies are now being activated and highlighted with this full moon. So yes, this is very much the entry into now the age of Aquarius and no longer the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
So exciting. As I said before, it's because Aquarians, we're very future oriented and we kind of bring the future into the present. That's why people think we're so eccentric sometimes or odd or weird. But we, as a whole, can we know what's coming, and we're very excited about what's coming because as far as my perception is, there's a shift in the collective energy of humans, and it's bringing in humanitarian consciousness, collective consciousness, rise in compassion, a connection that we have with collectively, globally, and so things like the internet, uh, even cell phones, all that stuff it's set up for the infrastructure of Aquarius, which also rules electronics and new inventions and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a really exciting time right now to be alive, even though it's kind of, well, kind of, it's crazy and unpredictable, and we have all this stuff going on. We are shifting, and a lot of the stuff that has um caused the instability or the uncertainty actually has catalyzed an awakening. It's coming in to wake us up. That's very exciting to know. Thank you. So what's next?
Yeah, so gonna talk a little bit about Chinese astrology.
Chinese astrology. Wow. I don't
Yeah.
really know it. But I know about the year of the rat, fire rat, whatever, dragon, rooster. I mean, I know about that aspect of it, but that's it. That's all I really am aware of.
Yeah, so there is definitely some really interesting history around Chinese astrology. So the zodiac, it's actually a zodiac of 12 animals, which is very much similar to the Western astrology zodiac of the 12 constellations. So it was created during the Han Dynasty, which occurred from 206 BC to 9 AD. So what's really cool about this is if you look at that time frame, it's kind of like right around like zero, which I think is really neat that it actually has its foundations during kind of like a very like pivotal point in the Western world. Yeah, I thought the parallel was very interesting because if you look back during the history with some of these ancient forms of divination, some of them have been around like thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So for this to, have the origin, or excuse me, the origin then was really cool. So it's made of 5 elements, instead of 4 elements. So in Chinese astrology, there's air, fire, water, earth, and metal. And they all have kind of a tone to them. Whereas in Western astrology, there's more of a mode of being. So that's an interesting parallel as well. So yeah, there's 12 signs, and each sign in Chinese astrology corresponds with a sign in Western astrology. For example, the dragon corresponds with Aries. And what they do is they all share very similar traits to one another. Like dragon and Aries, they're energetic, they're fearless, they're forceful, they're independent, they're courageous. And so it's really neat, when I started first with my study, of course, of Western astrology. And then this was back in the day, when bookstores were much more popular, so you could find them a lot easier. And I would go into the astrology and the New Age sections and I would peruse, and I would find these really cool books that did a combination of Eastern and Western astrology, and they blended them together, and everything made so much sense. And I gave myself kind of like a comprehensive reading, and I was like, wow, this is like completely amazing, sort of taking little pieces from different parts of the world and like combining them together. It's like, why not have knowledge from different areas of the world, and really combine them for an enhanced understanding. So that's kind of how I started with my study of Chinese astrology. And what is really cool is like, Melissa, have you ever had acupuncture?
No, I have not. I believe in it. I have had acupressure
Okay,
massage, and I
okay,
am very much aware of the meridians and
yeah,
that
yeah,
they correspond to the chakras actually. Um,
uh-huh,
and
yeah,
there's just like there's like a I don't know, thousands of meridians. There's sub chakra points all over the body. So I'm aware of acupuncture. I just never have actually personally had it.
yeah, yeah. And what's really neat is that a lot of the same elements in Chinese astrology are related to the healing centers in acupuncture. Um,
That makes sense to me because in their geomancy, the Chinese believe in the meridians of the earth. When there's a house, as far as I'm aware, when you are going to like build a house somewhere on land, you have someone come check out the meridians, the ley lines, the energy flow. And I've also read that you can actually do acupuncture on the earth itself because the meridians can be damaged, or the energy can run backwards. And so that there are a whole uh I want to say there are people, I should say, that their whole lives are dedicated to the geomancy. And it always fascinated me because I think I believe in ley lines. I've experienced them. They're very powerful. I'm always
mhm,
curious when there's a place where there's intense energy. A lot of times churches, especially older churches, have been built on where like ley lines, which are like the arteries of the earth,
mhm,
intersect. So yeah, but I thought it was really cool when I read that in China they practice that form of acupuncture, that not just on humans. I'm sure animals and whatever, but on the earth itself. Yeah.
mhm, mhm, mhm. So it's interesting, when you kind of study something and then you're starting to see the connections to different forms of healing, and then and the connections to the same type of craft, astrology, right? But being used in a different part of the world. Um, and then you can kind of combine them all, and you can kind of pick and choose, because when it really comes down to it, they're all coming from, things like stories, archetypes. They're all coming from kind of a lot of sort of the holistic healing type of mindset. um which is just absolutely wonderful, wonderful energy for the earth. I feel like the earth can never use enough of that very healing type of energy. Yeah, so that's all very exciting. So yeah, so there's 12 animals. So there's the dragon, snake, horse, sheep, monkey, rooster, dog, boar, rat, ox, tiger, and rabbit. And so those are all separated by what year you were born. However, though, there's also what hour you were born. For example, I was born in the year of the dog. I was born in the hour of the rat. So there's 24 hours, and then there's 12 signs. So every 2 hours is when
Oh,
yeah, so it
got
changes
it.
every 2 hours, and then that more specifies as to what hour you were born in. So it's almost like if you relate it to your sun sign and your moon sign, right? So you could say like my sun sign is dog and my moon sign's rat. Something like that. Because in Western astrology, the sun sign changes every 30 days and the moon changes every 2.5 days. So, everyone, that was my brief synopsis on the wonderful, fascinating, and interesting world of Chinese astrology.
Astrology in itself, it's such an intricate field. It's an ancient field, and it's fascinating. So thank you for bringing Chinese astrology to our awareness here in the Western Hemisphere.
Sure, sure. Um, Okie dokie. So, I think the last topic today, we are going to go back to the United States and talk a little bit of politics here for you. So I have Allen Weisselberg and some information on Allen Weisselberg's natal chart, which helps us understand more his psychology and his dynamics in relation to his cosmology. And as we know, he is sentenced to Rikers. And he's older now. He's I believe he's 76 years old. So this is something that even though the sentence is 5 months, this is something that is going to be very transformative for him. And we'll see what happens, when he comes out. Yeah, and it's just, something else. Again, those people involved with Trump tend to get themselves in trouble.
And make
Okie dokie.
attorneys get attorneys. Make tax accountants get attorneys. Anybody who's had any kind of affiliation or alliance with Trump, get
Yeah.
yourself an attorney.
Yeah, yep, definitely attorney. Yeah, or
Yeah,
several.
yeah,
Okay.
it's
So
not going to be good.
yeah, so first of all, he has a bunch of planets in the sign of Leo. Now, Leo within itself, like any other sign, is extremely multifaceted. But there is this aspect of Leo, that kind of likes the boys' club. Um, and this is very much heightened with him because he has the sun, moon, Saturn, Neptune, Venus, Mercury, and his rising all in Leo. It's really rare that I see someone with this many planets and their sun, moon, and ascendant, which are the most prominent in the same sign. Um, so what he has here is, Leo within itself can be a really fun sign. Leo rules things like speculation, gambling, but Leo
Pleasure.
pleasure, hedonism, on the negative side. Um, um,
Pleasure is good. I mean, pleasure is not necessarily a bad thing, but just an enjoyment.
an overindulgence can happen with Leo.
Potentially, yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what he has here is he has the planet Saturn as well in Leo. So Saturn is considered a really tough position for Leo because Leo's the lion. What does the lion likes to do? The lion likes to roam the jungle. The lion likes to roam the desert. When you find a lion in a cage, as represented by Saturn and Leo, um, you could potentially see some challenges that may go on. Saturn represents confinement. It represents the law of karma. And so this is basically what we're seeing with him. And the Saturn and Leo he has is a bit of he's dealing with a lot of karmic issues around the Leo energy as represented with Saturn in Leo because Leo
Saturn
represents
and
the
Leo also be like at the king, the king, king who
Oh,
rules a.
no, I would say that's like Pluto and Leo.
Okay, I
Putin has Pluto and Leo sitting on his midheaven.
uh
That, yeah, that's Pluto, because Pluto's the power. Saturn is the structure and the Lord of Karma. So the Lord of Karma has tapped him um from those Leo energy, has and now he's dealing with basically a lion in a cage. Because of
awful for
mhm,
him. I mean, not that he doesn't deserve it, but it must be a terrible thing.
yeah,
And all because of his loyalty to Trump.
yeah. So what we are seeing now with all of this Leo energy, because all the planets are sitting right next to each other, when there's a planet from another point in the chart aspecting them, they're all going to get aspected very similarly
A
by that.
stellium, isn't it called a stellium
Yeah,
when yeah, the
yeah,
planets are all together. Yeah.
as a Leo stellium. So he has the planet Jupiter acting as a bit of a handle for the stellium. Jupiter in square aspects. So Jupiter represents our morals. Jupiter in a square aspect has skewed morals. Jupiter also represents our ability for abundance. Jupiter is in a square aspect overestimates their capabilities. So a real combination of skewed morals and overestimation of capabilities has gotten him in trouble for financial planning, exaggeration, and poor moral compass, as represented by that Jupiter. Um,
And corruptibility.
yep. Coming from poor moral compass. So this is really here a perfect example why we see the planet Jupiter relating to our morals. A well aspect to Jupiter indicates someone who basically follows the rules, who is pleasant to be around. Someone with a skewed Jupiter aspect is someone who has really poor morals, and unfortunately for him there's a karmic repercussion here. So his nodal axis, the north node and the south node, the south node represents his comfort zone. The north node represents his evolutionary direction. His south node is in Scorpio. So Scorpio represents banks and other people's money. So he's very comfortable in the realm of dealing with other people's money here, with a south node in Scorpio. A south node in Scorpio also has a level of intuition to them and a sneakiness, because Scorpio represents Pluto, which represents the Lord of the Underworld. Strong Scorpio energies, good detectives, good at hiding out, good at manipulation, good at secrets. And this is his south node. So he was able to stay under the radar kind of with that south node in Scorpio for a long time, right? I mean, reading his chart, this man has probably gotten away with a good amount before he finally got caught. So that's really representative of that South Node Scorpio, that Scorpio energy he has already under his belt. That's easy for him. His North Node is in Taurus. So he was really all about the accumulation of land, property, real estate, finances, accumulation based upon other people's time, energy, resources, and money. So that's pretty much him. And he also had Neptune in sextile aspects. This is interesting. What he did is the planet Neptune is illusory. Neptune can be a wonderful charlatan, a wonderful scammer. So when you have poor moral compass, and when you have Neptune in positive aspects and aspects of potential like his chart, you have the ability to be like a charlatan, to scam people, because Neptune can put on this sort of fake front with things. So he used that manipulation, and was able to put on these fronts. His last aspect is the planet Mars, which represents his energy, sitting next to Uranus. This is a spastic temperament. things like temper tantrum, and outbursts with the Mars conjunct Uranus. Um, so yeah, that is pretty much his cosmological profile.
What's his trajectory astrologically? Like, what does it look like for him?
So
Oh, no.
that's a good question. So what I did was I looked at some of his transits. So I took a look at the short-term transits, which are now and then a couple months from now. I also looked at the long-term transits, which are about 3 to 6 months from now. And what I did was I saw, first of all, a lot of the aspects with Uranus. Uranus is the great awakener. It shakens, it awakens. It's like an earthquake. It's unsettled energy. And a lot of these were in either square aspects or oppositional aspects, which are considered hard aspects that take that Uranian energy and they cause more kind of abrupt type of energy. um this things get revealed with Uranus because it breaks out of the bounds of Saturn to kind of move you forward. It wants to evolve you forward, but it does it through a mode of like shaking things out of you. It's like picking up a beggar who's hidden a bunch of stuff under their shirt, shaking everything out of the beggar, and everything's falling to the ground. It's that type of energy. So it's not really comfortable. Um, and there's a good chance that this may cause some potential health issues for him because I don't know if his health is good. Um, it may be a little more than he could handle. I'm going to be totally honest with you.
I would
Um,
imagine he's 76. He's not exactly somebody who probably has been very athletic or tended to his health. And Rikers is like a hellhole, isn't it?
yeah. I heard Rikers is one of the most like hardcore, types of place to be imprisoned.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it's not going to be comfortable with these Uranian aspects. Um, he also has a couple of Jupiter aspects as well. Jupiter squares represent skewed morals, but Jupiter also represents like a blessing. When Jupiter is in a square aspect in a transit, you're not really going to have like an inner guru, an inner guide, or even like an external guide. It's you're gonna have to deal with an environment in which the moral compass is screwy and challenging.
Wonder, I think one of the reasons Weisselberg hasn't flipped yet is because
Mm-hmm,
it's dangerous for him. And there are consequences. It's like a mafia type
mm-hmm,
role that he has. And
mm-hmm.
but if Trump gets weaker with these trials, and have you seen him falling asleep in his trials? And there are these photographs of him, and it's just, he looks like a lizard. He looks like a lizard taking a nap or something, and he's like checked out of his body. I wonder if Weisselberg would be more inclined to flip on Trump so that he doesn't have to, uh, you know, live out his sentence, because that could be a nightmare. I mean, that will be a nightmare for him. It would be a nightmare for anybody. We'll see. We'll see what
Yeah.
is going to happen. And if he does, go through it, I do think it will have some pretty significant effects on his health potentially, because it would.
Mm-hmm. So what is interesting, what I want to relate to what you just said is that in June, the planet Saturn, the transiting Saturn in the sky is going into retrograde. So Saturn really is the lord of karma. And when Saturn goes into retrograde, all the past actions which have usurped the law of karma get revealed. So June, it's going to be like come June, the end of June, July, it's gonna things like we're gonna see like a whole new level of things.
Oh,
And
interesting.
yeah, because of the Saturn going into retrograde. So a whole new layer of karmic repercussions is going to be brought to the table.
Good.
Mhm,
Good.
mhm,
Because it needs to happen. There needs to be accountability.
mhm, mhm.
Well, we've been so frustrated about. There has to be accountability. It's been great having you come on as usual, and I look forward to the next time.
Most definitely. Thank you so much for having me on, Melissa. And again, everybody, you can find my contact email in the description box.
Okay, you guys, I love you. You take care. I will be back next week